Welcome back, everybody. One game in the books, another right around the corner. Axiz about to make their return against the likes of DFM. It's going to be a big matchup of a team that kind of surprised people early, but maybe it was a little snapback to reality in that last game versus a team that also has been on a resurgent climb, at least from the start of that summer slip in DFM. And right now, the big question that we should be asking, are DFM really back? They started the season 0-2, moved to 1-1, and since then they've been 2-0ing pretty much each and every week. So starting with you, Initialize, are DFM back? Is this going to be another showcase of a team that a lot of us here have kind of pegged as the best team within the league?
So I think the answer is yes, if only because they look a lot crisper on the map. Aria's looking proactive again, and the team looks much more synergized with Gang, which was a lot of the problem in the early weeks where they looked a little bit clunky, they looked a little bit labored in terms of what they were doing, but being decisive, following up on Gang, who was been historically known for his incredible playmaking on the likes of Leona, Rakan, Nautilus, Thresh. The list goes on, but particularly his playmaking has been very, very good. And that has, generally speaking, been a lot better in recent weeks. The Nautilus and the Rakan in particular, very much impressed. The one caveat I'll put in is a lot of the win to come off the back of Shaco LeBlanc, because that combo has been something that DFM are just incredibly practiced with, and a lot of other teams just don't know what they're doing against it. Shaco's taken a couple nerfs with the current patch, so if that goes away, we need to see whether the synergy is still there or whether it's just that pairing. I doubt it, but you never know.
Yeah, and that was kind of actually going to be the question I was going to pose over to Temporal, though, is like, how does this team react with this new current patch? I mean, the Shaco LeBlanc, they were the only team in the world consistently running that combination, and they were finding success after success after success. But Shaco, as mentioned, hit a couple nerf with this current patch. Is there another sort of playstyle that you think they might fall to based on what they've done in the past? Is this going to be a real wrench in the works? Where do you think the team actually goes from stylistically from here?
I think if they're going to continue the same thing, you can quite easily fall back on the Xin Zhao, even in, the sort of, we're entering at maybe a post Xin Zhao era across the world where, sure, he's still incredibly powerful, but other junglers have that like slightly stronger sticking power throughout the game. I don't think the Shaco nerfs are a true death sentence on 11-14. I think we may see DFM just stick to their guns and power on through. If not, there are plenty of other ways to support this LeBlanc style that DFM have opened up with in the LJL. And I wouldn't worry too much.
I think, yeah, exactly. I think a lot of the focus has been on that Shaco pick, and perhaps more focus needs to be on the LeBlanc pick and how Arya has been playing a lot more carries in recent times. And when we look at that matchup against Megamin, who has been a little bit inconsistent so far this season, do you suspect that we're going to be seeing a continuation of these carries? Do they continue to sort of put that gas down in that mid lane and look to really sort of muscle their way through in that regards?
Yes.
Essentially. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah, the Temple puts it out there. I think, yeah, absolutely. Arya has been known to dismantle people in the mid lane. He did it to Ace last week. I think it was 60 CS, ends up being the differential there. It was pretty rough to see in that kind of early mid game. So yes, there is absolutely a world where that happens.
Yeah, I'm curious though if they're going to commit to it. I mean, Arya's been looking incredible. Really, that jungle mid synergy has been looking incredible for DFM, and as a result, this team has been coming together quite nicely. Although you have to ask though, can they keep that momentum going? Obviously, that is the big question for Axiz. They had the momentum going their way, but a little bit of a hiccup in that last round. And I feel like one of the reasons why potentially could have been Hoglet, who has been that fantastic playmaker, perhaps struggled a bit in that last game. Do we still sort of expect Axiz to kind of go that route with the jungle sort of being the initiator against a team who likes to run that Shaco and almost go like that assassin playmaker? Do you think stylistically this could be something that throws a spanner into the works for Axiz? I'll throw it to
Yeah.
Temporal.
Yes. The evasive power of Shaco not being that easy first target for Hoglet, not being that thing that he can run into river against and just say like 1v1 me or go away. I'm going to go to this lane, and if you counter gank too close to me, I'm going to turn around. That threat sort of not present versus the Shaco. Always free to walk away. Always going to do the same thing on low and high gold. Sure, he might not be able to be the assassin himself, but will always provide that bit of evasion, that illusion. Is like if you ever turn towards the Shaco as a point of focus, he can snap it back away again. Always offers the utility in the boxes, and always might cause Hoglet a bit of frustration in that pattern.
Yeah, as a kind of note on that one as well, in terms of just Axis in general, Hoglet is something of a banner bearer for this team. In the early game, he is the one largely leading the charge. If things don't work out in the early game, it's often Hoglet that ends up being worse, where we saw him take a couple deaths in that last game, for example. So he might be someone to keep our eyes on to see if Axis are going to pull out the win here.
All right. Well, I will be keeping my eyes on Hoglet in the stands, watching along. I've got to make my way back there because picks and bans have started. So I'll leave the casting and all that hard work for you guys. Good luck out there. And yeah, let's kick this show on the road.
Thank you very much, Formal. That leaves myself and Temporal. The business of casting this second game here on the LJLOU. DFM are over on the blue side, Axiz over on the red. Bans have just been completed. Thresh Jinx by DFM to prevent that 1-2 alongside the Viego because they don't want to first pick it. Whereas there's a lot of solo laners from Axiz. All the things that Arya could run over mid with, or a lot of them, just taken off the board. And DFM saying, okay, well, we'll pick the Renekton. We can flex it. What have you got, Inno?
What have you got, indeed. So you're completely right. The style's laid down. DFM going one deeper than Sengoku did and getting rid of the Thresh as well. So no backup for that Ziggs in Axis's back pocket. The Gwen will come through. That was a previous ban against Axiz, I believe. Or did Axiz?
Yeah.
Yep, in that previous game. So instead, a different style, something maybe picked up for Inno here. Megamin or Hoglet could take it as well. The Gwen very flexible, even at this current stage. And without the 11-15 nerfs, still just an absolute menace in the solo lane. Not Renekton, not her best matchup, so it'll be interesting to see what Axiz do with that. They could try and evade her, put her in another lane. DFM now have the job of putting something together that realizes this Renekton's threat. They've just seen what Sengoku did to Axiz with the Lizard Wizard, and no doubt they are trying to replicate, as this looks eerily familiar.
I recognize Renekton Diana as a combo from potentially just a game a few moments ago.
Yeah.
How did that one work out again? Well, either way, might not be exactly the same, of course, because it's likely going to be the Gwen towards the top lane and the Lee Sin towards the mid, unless there's some shenanigans getting things flexed around both our potential junglers, in fairness. DFM will also lock in the Aphelios here to take that one away from money, which was banned away from the last game as well. I believe it was Jinx and Aphelios banned first round, if I recall correctly. Response will be the Varus this time, back towards something a bit more traditional, not Ziggs.
Not the Ziggs indeed. Varus, the lane dominating AD carry, fallen off a little as he is vulnerable to things like the Diana. You can even jam a Hecarim in there if you want to. And they do make the Archer very, very sad indeed, but unparalleled in lane. This is Honey's chance to shine and stick you upon behind, potentially, as we normally see them take that that sort of secondary carry role for DFM. You've got someone up in the front lighting your opponents up, and then Udapon will be 30, 40, 50 CS ahead, come forwards, sort of slowly, not desperately, and just carry DFM over the line. It's what we like to see when they play through multiple lanes. Leona ban away. They are looking to potentially just protect their Aphelios now.
That will be likely the way forward. Of course, you can protect Aphelios by just having so much CC that he can just stand there and free fire. But obviously the Thresh has been the normal true pairing with him. I suppose Tom Kent's still available, but obviously with reworks and the like, it's a bit of a different beast if you wanted to run it in something like the bot lane position, which is generally not the way anymore. Rakan and Alistair were the bans by Axiz, which are two of Gang's more prevalent picks. One final ban now for DFM, and they're certainly mulling this one over.
Indeed. No matter what they do, there will be one way in onto Udapon's Aphelios. They've taken away the Nautilus. The Rel still available. We're also looking at things potentially like the Blitzcrank. If you move Steel on this Diana around, it goes quite poorly for our Moonlit Assassin. The Braum looks like the option. That's a reasonable pickup. Synergizes very well with other champions with dashes, and we find everything on Axis, except the Varus has its own evasive tools. So Honey will be able to leap around a team fight, be where he needs to be, keep Honey happy. We turn over to DFM here. We have to see the consolidation of a bottom lane and potentially a solo laner.
Debating the Rel that we mentioned before. Rel Diana is a pretty nasty combo. Diana goes in first with the Attract Repel. You get CC to keep people in the Moonfall. Then you go in yourself with the Magnet Storm. It's a beautiful combo. We have one final pick. Looking like it'll be for Arya or potentially, I suppose, for Ebby if they do want to flex the Renekton mid. But now is the moment to find out. Twisted Fate, the hover right now.
A lot of play for this Aphelios. Twisted Fate able to just be that presence across the map. If you can get any lane ahead, why not this team fighting hypercarry in Aphelios? Or potentially just, you know, blowing top lane wide open, a decent option. That means Evie is looking towards, you know, Gwen versus Renekton. Pretty difficult for the Gwen. As we see, something of a traditional Teemo last pick hover. I'm not deep in the LJL lore, but this has happened twice
It's
now.
absolutely Nemo's thing to do. Instead, it'll be the Orianna for Mega Min.
Okay.
Somebody to try and stay alive, offer a little bit more utility. Lee Sin's a decent ball carrier. You see the option there.
You see the option there. Indeed. Orianna not super picked up this split. Instead, just taking sort of maybe her least prevalent season for many years at least. Just not able to facilitate these frontline carries in the era of Starrick's Gauge, which kind of does what she wanted to do with Command Protect anyway.
Sure.
Shield Shred becoming a real thing for the first time. Even when it's been present last season, it wasn't, you know, overt. It wasn't on an item. You couldn't just buy it and stick it in there. Instead, Orianna just, you know, not being the ever-present evergreen mid laner that we once thought. Twisted Fate also fallen off a little more recently. So it'll be interesting to see these teams' takes on mid laners that have fallen out of a little popularity.
Absolutely. I mean, like DFM, a lot of options to work with big CC combos in the side lanes. You turn it with Diana and Twisted Fate at level 6, and you blow up either the Gwen or the Varus. That's the plan, right? Both options there, whereas it's a little bit more, you know, level 6, 2-item skirmishing from the side of Axiz. You know, Gwen, Orianna look pretty good at 2 items. Lee Sin in the jungle, interestingly here as well. Of course, it's not that lane Lee Sin like it was the last game for Mega Min. Varus with the Brawl, relatively defensive bot side realistically, and I'm a little bit more interested to see whether Axiz with, you know, some good skirmishing potential, but it's a little bit more all-round of a comp, I guess, look to do in this game.
Indeed. I do want to highlight something quite hidden about DFM's draft. If you look at the way they apply CC, we're looking at Eevee coming up and dropping the stun on an opponent, either with a flash or slice and dice or fantastic flanking approach, as we saw against Axiz in the last game. We're looking at Steel's Moonfall, which comes in at melee range. We're looking at Rel, again, coming in at melee range, or her AD carries sort of defense, also melee range. All of these things get in under the Hallowed Mist. The only thing the Hallowed Mist is blocking is a Gravitum from Mutapon or a yellow card from Arya. And we've already mentioned many more things than that. When's it evasive? Hallowed Mist will not be as effective in this game, especially if they have to come forwards and frontline, as you would maybe expect. So, you know, definitely a task to live up to. And DFM thinking deeply about the champions their opponents early rounded. On the other side, Honey and Nemo should try to push ahead in this bottom lane and make as much of the Varuses as they can.
Yeah.
If they can't, that is a major folding point that Arya will be abusing as the game goes on.
And of course, you've got the Brawl there to try and dissuade big dive attempts, and you've got the Chains of Corruption as well, and you know, so there is a little bit of turnaround pick. You know, if you land a good Winter Spite, it look like a good Glacial Fissure, you've got some CC combos for yourself there. But with that option there, assuming you run something like the Cleanse, I think probably sensible for the Varus this game.
Oh, please.
I suspect for Aphelios too. It'll be as much about staying alive here from the predations of both junglers, particularly come level 6 for DFM side, though of course Lee Sin as well, very potent at that level 6 mark. So it will be interesting to see how it plays out. I know the official stream, for example, was really highlighting both bot laners, Utapon, largely not being the point of pressure for DFM this split. You know, been playing more towards their solo laners, taking a bit of time to get on board with Gang. But, you know, like 560 DPM, by the way, for Utapon. And he's still only like 6th in the league for AD carries with 560 DPM as an AD carry, which is a little bit silly, actually. It says a lot about how much damage our AD carries are relied upon to do in this league.
You would, yeah, you would think as much, and it's just a little unusual to me at least. But hey, here we are. DFM versus Axiz, a middle of the table setup here. Both
Might
teams
not be for long.
might not be for long. A lot to play for this super week, as the middle of the pack must spread out one way or another. We're onto the Rift, and DFM, Ebby's leading the charge. They're into the jungle.
It is skin of choice, that one. It's the Black Frost Renekton, I think is the term for it, if I remember correctly. And my skin knowledge has fallen down a little bit in recent months. But glad to see I got that one right. The new Sentinel one for Steel as well. All very prettied up. There's our rune choices. A lot of Conquerors. It is still the Phase Rush, despite, of course, nerfs that came through onto the Orianna. Spellbook for Twisted Fate. Nothing particularly surprising there. Hail Blades Varus, also fairly standard choice for him, even if Prowler's Claw a little bit nerfed to prevent the easy stacks up. But works so well with Braum, right?
Still works so well with Braun, so we'll be leaning towards that lethality setup, no doubt, with the Hail of Blades. As you mentioned, nothing too exciting coming out. Eno opting away from the flash, as the Gwen does like to do. Ebby respecting the 1 versus 1, going for the bone plating instead of the conditioning, which sometimes helps Renekton get into the front line a little more effectively, as the first 10 minutes, not the Lizard Wizard's main concern. Interestingly enough, we see Steel start off with that Moonfall. It lets you do a little more damage, and your health gets recovered on the first camp anyway with that smite. So just a little bit of extra speed for the Diana in the early game. Ebby and Eno going at it.
Guess the Conqueror stack now, just trying to stay away and avoid the skip and slash best they can. And that's the pot burn from Eno, which is good stuff. But now Ebby's in a slightly scary position. The Twitter vote, unsurprisingly, relatively favored to the likes of DFM. They may, if you haven't known this, got a fairly big fan base over here in the LJL. Been winning for a very, very long time. Blitzcrank has kept this one a dead tie, at least in statistics. And at the standings as well, it was all tied up at the beginning of the day, so can't blame them for this one. So Gang throws out the new emote. It is an entertaining one. But
I unlocked it yesterday. I haven't flashed it at anyone yet, but I have really thought about it.
Yeah, the scream now comes to a rift near you.
I wanted to see the curve Blitzcrank zone. Why didn't? There it is. Okay, so a red favored early game Axiz. Clearly, Blitzcrank knows a little of Varus's lane power, and you see that little dip there down. That little dip down there at the bottom is either Bladecraft coming through for Eno, as Hoglet into the mid lane is found onto Arya.
Yeah, flash away from Arya gets them out, but the ward hop early means that Hoglet gets in very, very quickly. Steel is still around, but I just don't know how easy this will be to contest. But Ebby's coming down, so this could still get a little exciting. It's going to be pulled over. Shield's still not broken. Megamin and Hoglet trying to come through. That'll be the gold card locked in for Arya, and he'll probably use it on the Scuttle Crab. And DFM will burn the flash on their mid laner, but will secure the Scuttle Crab for their jungler.
They get the contested one. Megamin's minor priority in mid, returning to the lane quickly, and then Honey and Nemo way pushed up in bottom. So at least Hoglet will get one back.
But if you trap repel, they're doing their best to hold things in place. A little bit of a turnaround with the Severum onslaught, and Steel will take this opportunity to go and invade the Krugs, but it means that Arya now in a potentially difficult position. Remember, there's still that ward in lane, which makes Arya's life quite difficult because he knows that Hoglet could just hop forward. There's no sweep or anything to get rid of it right now.
Hoglet definitely holding that anchor in mid lane and just making Arya think twice, which is, what you want to do when your opponent's superstar mid laner likes to open up and play for lane advantage gang. Now finding the sweep in bottom. The stun is on.
It is. There's the Gravitum as well. Big chunk through. Now Nemo's in dangerous trouble as well. The cleanse had to be popped by Honey, and that's going to force them back very early there. Well played by Gang to manage to get the double crash down and the attract repel past the shield. Beautiful to see. Guess who's back? It's Hoglet. Still that ward in the mid lane. Surely about to time out. Arya will see it. He's on ward as well. Arya stops the recall. Oh, yes, there's a decent lead here for Megamin, but considering the pressure, I can't even blame Arya. He's playing this one about as well as he can.
About as well as he can. He throws the last of his mana in an attempt to disparage his opponents.
Leave my lane, man!
Just leave me alone, man. I just want to play mid, okay? I just want to play mid. And,
Why are you here?
oh,
The rage of every mid laner ever.
the rage, definitely the frustration showing for a moment, and in the CS lead as well. Arya will, you know, be over a wave behind at this stage, and that's fine. The TF not looking to like generate the gold lead through just getting more CS. Indeed, the gold will be closer than we think because of his passive. DFM holding that 400 gold lead right now, and you'll notice some of that is for steal, but otherwise there's actually a CS deficit in the bottom lane. So that's Arya's passive propping that one up.
That's a couple minions lost to the wave when Honey and Nemo really hard shoved early on to secure that scuttle grab. Can't really blame Aphelios for not being able to step up to that one because, yeah, you don't get to trade back very easily through a door, it turns out.
Really?
But yeah, you're right. A lot of it is just Steel getting some early clears and doing very well. In fact, DFM really solid gold leads here. I think probably because it is just even stuff around the board. Plus, Arya getting some big stack deck passives going on, and now Megamin's in a spot of bother. Can't quite get in range for the gold card there, but it's only a Lunar Rush pop, so still not going to waste too much time. Is waiting around for this Scuttle Crab spawn. There's Hoglet, but trying to be as obnoxious as possible. Yeah, it's level 6 for Megamin, and that might make this a bit trickier. Arya too, as you said, hit level 6. Nemo and Gang trading in the bot side. Steel has to flash away. They're going to continue trying to trade in here. That's the gold card. Trying to disengage. Flash in for Hoglet. Who's going to Lunar Rush towards the waves. Going to hop forward on the thing, but he takes a tower shot. Hoglet just too close. Now he's in trouble in turn. That is so frustrating. Now on the top side, Inno and Ebby trying to trade out. The Ignite comes down. Ebby pops the Dominus, trying to out-heal now that the Ignite's gone down. Can potentially look to turn it around. Finds the stun, goes over the wall. Now looking to go back in. The thread work has ended. Sorry, needlework has ended. And here comes Arya in turn. Inno needs to go away, but of course the Hall of Mist is down. And Ebby gets that one out. The Flash comes out, trumps in that one.
We mentioned how Twisted Fate doesn't necessarily need that CS lead as stun comes down, exhaust is through, Moonlight mid, it's all going.
Oh, Megamin's in trouble. Phase Rush isn't enough. The Flash was burned as well. Still not going to be off its exhaust down on the bot side, but Utapon had to burn Cleanse, Gang burned Ignite. But the health bar is definitely in favor of DFM right now.
Definitely, and most of it all comes through the presence of Arya. Once again, doesn't matter if this TF is down a few CS in mid, a huge Ignite swap on the Summoner's Spellbook in the moments before that 2v2 in mid allow Arya to take down Hoglet's Lee Sin. Hoglet's confident here, even a level down on Steel, the Diana isn't active till level 6. This Lee Sin pick is ready and available. You'll notice he is without his cripple there just for a moment, and they get the flash out. Hoglet's burnt a lot of his spells at this stage, but he's keen to come forwards. He believes in it. The flash and the Tempest Strike come down, and with the ignite that he's not expecting from Arya, he falls so fast. That opens up an advantage in mid. Arya is already looking to Ebby's call top. This extended 1v1, not favoring the Renekton, has to burn the flash, but then as soon as Arya calls he is in range, Ebby turns it back around, the eye comes out, the Destiny, the gate, and Arya just is able to open up on 2 lanes all at once. Steel recognizes that Megamin, after that 2v2, missing some key tools, the respect's not there, and just, so clean. One mana remaining. Steel knowing exactly what he can and can't do. DFM
we'll call it calculated.
Hugely advantaged. Remember this Axiz composition. We're going to go back to Blitzcrank song because I'm not over having a robot tell me exactly at which point
the power levels are at, right? It's great.
It's so useful and it's so relatable. This is meant to be Axis's time to shine. This is the deepest that red curve will get.
You'll notice that Temporal is a color cast who likes his stats. He's really excited about
I like my stats. Narratives even more, and then realized statistics properly used. Oh, I love you, Blitzcrank son.
Okay, well, we'll set up a Valentine's date next year or something. It's going to be beautiful. Right now, though, it's DFM with a hefty 2,500 gold advantage. Stats be damned. It's in the face of them. It's part of that narrative you were just talking about it. Those stats being realized kind of counter to some of the expectations, or at least power levels, because DFM just managed to get around the map and catch Axiz a bit wrong-footed in multiple lanes. They try the mid lane. Arya gets out of it, goes top, gets the kill top side, and Steel gets the kill mid at the same time. It's 3-0 over that. The bot lane's not really in the advantage either, despite the Varus going well. This Dragon's now on Vision as well. So there's room where this Herald gets to be used very aggressively. And honestly, DFM looking very convincing thus far early on. Axiz not out of it, but it's a bit of a rough start.
It's an incredible rough start. And if you're Honey right now, you're
boy.
having flashbacks to Renekton flashing at you last game, but instead it's going to be Steel on this Diana. The Varus are oh so much more vulnerable. DFM looking for the dive here. Ebby trading ever so precariously. You can shred your own health bar if you're not the one tanking the tower, but you have to get Eno as low as possible. Steel coming forwards. Arya will complete.
Woo! Just gone, disappears in the bot side now. Nemo and Honey trying to get in as best they can. Gang's in trouble, but look at the damage back. It's so close. Neo Utapon's got Infernum, and the Dusk Wave claims 2. Beautiful play in the bot side. They'll get tower first in the top side as well. And DFM running rampant across the map.
It is an absolute break open. DFM knowing exactly where their strengths lie. Playing through this Renekton, like the TF is exactly where it needs to be to break open these things. A little bit of behind the scenes. I'm slightly late because of other reasons that are completely my fault, but DFM looking like they want to get me there on time with how fast they are accelerating this game. Look at this replay. Steel isn't sure about the Herald first. Arya calls it. Someone's calling the TF coming in. No hesitation. Get into that Hallowed Mist. It is a key point of DFM's draft to evade that evasion, extra layers to making this Gwen hurt. It is oh so knowledgeable play. And then the 2v2 is already looking Aphelios' way. The acceleration here is absolutely fantastic from DFM. This is what a convincing win looks like in 2021.
Absolutely does. Everywhere looking phenomenal. Steel now 3-0-0. Look at the gold across the map. There is not a lane, not a role that isn't significantly far ahead for DFM. Even in the bot lane, it's a 600 gold lead, which is pretty significant at 11, nearly 12 minutes in. That is very, very scary. You do not see 5,000. Hell, that's near enough 6,000 really getting at this point. My maths is a little bit suspect, so I will ask someone not to double check that. The point stands though. It is a really, really big gold lead, and Axiz, their plays have all gone wrong. They have got tools. You know, there is still Lee Sin at level 8 with some items coming towards it. They've still got Pick. They've still got some scaling options in the likes of the Gwen and the Orianna to try and punish people. And Gang now going to go over the wall and get out. They're still going to go in on Gang. Utapon flashes the way down, and they root him under tower. Hoglet's going to take a lot of tower shots, but it will be the flash down from Utapon. So at least it's a win for Axiz, but it's not the kills they so desperately need right now.
It is that flash off the board for the next engagement. It's an okay way to use the lull state, but it's starting to look desperate. Axiz get away with it there, but a moment earlier or a preemptive flash from Utapon could have spelled disaster, and Hoglet could have been donating more gold over. It is really a...
No!
Oh, Ebby, I love it. I love it. Give it to him.
Hey, that's a very smart ward! Hoglet's like, I can't walk into this! Oh... There was definitely an SS ping coming out like Hoglet. I don't know where this Renekton is. It could be horrible yet. He's coming around, and now he's going to be the recipient of a 3-man gank. But he's very strong, and of course, with no flash on Inno and a level down, it's still probably not sensible. And instead, he just gets to walk away. Doesn't even have to burn his ultimate.
Doesn't even have to burn the ultimate. And Eno did fallback ping the red buff just before Hoglet walked in. So Hoglet realizing last moment exactly what was going to happen. More vision for DFM into this East Quadrant, and it is Steel's next point of contention. They are keeping Honey out of the game. Again, more wards. Axiz know DFM are playing through this acceleration, and while they are respecting it, they are giving up key points across the map. DFM continue to push forwards in this game, and with this tower, they will extend their gold lead to 6,500.
Problem is as well, as all well and good trying their very best to put these walls down to spot people up, but they're going the moment they're put down. None of this vision is sticking. It's spotting someone, and that's good enough when you're behind in some ways, but none of this is stable vision. None of this is holding, and that is a lot of tower plate gold. 10 plate differential, 1 plate only for X compared to the 11, including 2 towers, which of course isn't included in that, is brutal before the 15-minute mark. And now Inno needs to be very afraid considering the item discrepancy. Slice in, there's the Cull the Meek, there's the Ruthless Predator, but Ebby decides won't go for an all-in quite yet. Instead, just force Inno to back away.
Just chipping away at this Gwen's health bar. You don't need to commit to the all-in until you know you can finish it, and don't rely on your opponent to give it away. Oh man, Ebby's having a time. Look at that gold differential. The mountain stacking it up. It's not quite Fuji yet, but we're not a million miles away.
Oh boy, Fuji-san, as they say in Japan, is certainly looking mighty well at the moment. That is a very hefty gold lead. 6.5 at 15 minutes is very, very
Steel.
scary. They've got to be very afraid. Steel's here. Here comes the teleport. The dragon goes down, but at what cost? Arya's now in the back. He's going to try and flash over, potentially go on to Megamin, I think. That's a decent glacial fissure, but two in the back are going to fall surely. Utapon gets kicked and falls down, but now the rest of the fight's already looking a bit rough. Needs to escape. It's a decent attempt from Hoglet. Flashing in, gets Steel. Honey's going to fall as well, and now Hoglet needs to escape. It's a little bit of something, but the gold card into the flash means that it is still a 4-for-2 in favor of DFM. Axiz burned everything at one of their highest points of power, and yes, they get 2, but look what they lose.
They lose 3, and while they get away with the dragon, it is not looking great. The glacial fissure from Nemo was clutch, kept Steel as far away as possible. We'll see it'll open up here. This is what you want to see as a Diana. Look at those clumped carries. Look at that. Sort of want to rush forwards here, get in. A bit of patience from Steel as he waits for Utapon. He doesn't want to go too far forwards. Arya comes in the back line, and we'll notice Utapon isolated, gang in the front line, and Arya opening up, but Steel didn't get the clutch huge ultimate they wanted. That AD carry is still alive. Hoglet manages to facilitate sort of some coming back of kills afterwards, but it's looking pretty rough for Axiz. If DFM execute even better, that you mentioned, that's as high as they go. That's where the composition is meant to spike about now. Oriana is meant to facilitate this Gwen coming forwards and set up, let Varus play forwards at one of his stronger points in the game. Lethality does not keep going forever. It is.
I mean, it was a 4-for-2. Yes, they got the dragon, but they burned every single flash they had. They're going to lose the Herald as well, and like it cost them a hell of a lot, and it means that at this point they're kind of tapped for important playmaking resources around the map at this point. They'll lose second Herald, which means probably this mid lane is about to fall. Megamin will probably get the first tower of the game for Axiz down here in this bot side, but it's getting a bit... It's already quite challenging for Axiz at this point in the game. They've come back a similar gold lead against DFM before. They have got some tools to do it, but it needs not to bleed out even further. There's the Herald summoned in mid lane, and I don't think Honey and Nema really want to be under tower when it starts getting pushed in properly. They'll burn the teleport to try and save it. That's Hoglet coming in, but they spotted him. They're going to kick him over the wall, but there's the crash down. There's the attract and the repel. Hoglet's going to try and escape best he can. The Crescent Strike misses. He's got a decent amount of healing, and he's going to try and escape the best he can. He's going to come on to Arya. There is Gang. He doesn't really have a lot of ways out. There's the gold card, hop back over to the wall, and he's got to be a little bit afraid. Still going to have that piercing, or sorry, the Pale Cascade come through, and I think Hoglet might just have made it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what you call some goddamn fancy feet.
That is fancy feet in the finest. Hoglet getting away, frankly, with murder. Being so deep behind DFM there. DFM burned a reasonable amount of tools as well. 2 ultimates just to move your opponent's underlevel jungler around is not a fair trade.
Unfortunately, so it does hold the mid tower as well for Axiz. That second Herald doesn't get the value they were hoping for. So honestly, Axiz, yeah, you got away with murder, but you need those little miracles in order to come back into this game. And Hoglet, showing why we rated him so highly in our mid-season tier lists.
They've managed to put a stall in DFM's acceleration. Like we're gonna go back to Hoglet. Look at this. Like Hoglet's kit, it's on precision, but you can't stop Gang when he goes forwards. But the flash chain to the ultimate there from Diana, it's gotta feel so good. And we'll notice Arya's gold card not quite hitting its mark here. Wasn't quite locked in time, was going for that maximum duration on its availability. And even though you can tell Steel really wants it, he's not prepared to run into 5 members of Axiz to try and...
Would be a bit risky.
It would be incredibly bloodthirsty, but not going to be the case here. And with this game now slightly wider open, with that tier 1 down in the bottom lane, Axiz have, a glimmering light. They are still 8,000 behind, but now for DFM to assign anywhere, they've got to play their hand. They've got to take this slow.
No, not again. You face checked a few times on the weak side before. He's going to try and escape best he can. He's going to take so much goddamn damage. He's going to get the blast cone denied as Steel does secure that one. And they get the pick in the top side.
You know what I said about slow? Never mind, just completely out of position.
It's fine.
Like, with no vision in river, sure, you can be safe of Tribush. but then your opponents are going to walk into Tribush. So maybe it's best not to be out in front of your vision when you haven't double-checked their assignments yet. It's a hard position to be in the top laner, though, because you're often left
No
on.
teleport. Dragon's up in 15. That could cost Axiz the soul point they were desperately hoping for. Hoglet's around. He could pull another little bit of a miracle out of his hat. There's a teleport in for Arya. He's switched it out, interestingly, for Cleanse to ensure he has a CC, and Inno has respawned. But Ebby's just chasing onto Hoglet here, trying to keep him away from the pit. It's going to be a big chunk. Forces the kick before the dragon fight. That is a huge deal. And now DFM just going to try and hold court in the mid lane best they can, keep the wave state safe. And they'll just send over a couple members to take this dragon and prevent Hoglet from having an opportunity. He's resetting. They don't want to fight this. And DFM, just by walking at the jungler, get themselves this dragon.
They find their way in onto this dragon, and that will prevent the soul point acceleration here for Axiz. It would have only been Cloud, but DFM just not going to let them get anywhere.
Mega Min, you've got to be very afraid. Steel's going to keep Hoglet away as well. They're just teleporting. He's gone. I'd love to play by play, but he's just dead. There was no hope.
Gone. It's over.
Clockwork is being disassembled. It's a digital age now, my friends. The Moonlight Vigil misses, but Honey's still going to be in trouble. They're going to dive on him anyway. The Chains of Corruption missed. The flash isn't enough. Steel gets it. Going to take the tower as well. And who needs to hit your ultimates? Because you can murder them anyway. That's what a 7, 1, and 2 Diana will bring to you. It's not so the moon is falling, and eternally, it's significantly worse than the K2 event. Asteroid, a little bit smaller than Steel in this game.
A little bit smaller, but same effect. As,
That was a very deep reference, and I apologize, but I like it.
the vulnerability of Varus highlighted here. As, even when you have that Chains of Corruption, that's something you want to use going forwards to pick your targets when you're role-playing through Varus and having the most fun and using it the most effectively. Instead, using it reactively, sure, he might have caught Diana mid-jump incredibly hard to do that with a skill shot. And unfortunately, Varus has to pay with his life as DFM continue to push forwards.
All right. Well, looking at the gold now, it's 11,000 gold at 22 minutes in. That has got to be going towards the biggest gold leads ever seen in the LJL.
We're getting there. There was a general rule before this year that if it's 8k before half an hour, game's over. Gold leads.
It's quite a long way over that.
Yeah.
When the top of the scale's better, you got to Felios and Diana.
Yeah.
I'm twisted fate with Lich Bane in 20 minutes.
It's all happening. It's all happening.
Look at Diana's item. She's got 2 plus a Blighting Jewel plus an Oblivion Orb. What do you do?
I'm not sure, to be honest. If I'm Axiz, I'm really struggling right now. You have a disappointing loss against bottom of the table Sengoku, who looked on form uncharacteristically. And now you're facing down your potential rival in playoffs.
Yeah, Hoglet's over the wall. He's going to come through and try and kick Udapon, but doesn't really go the angle he wants, and Udapon gets the flash away. Severum is running. Hoglet goes in, but the Attract Repel was gorgeous, and Udapon gets the kill. Steel goes golden. Look who else is here. It's Ebby. And the wallets are wallets. The whole damn gold sacks, and they crunch into the face of Axiz. It's a full ace. They dive under the mid-tier 2. They'll push in as well. It's 18 kills to 3. Look at that gold lead and look away in horror. This is a survival game now, and I don't think Dark Souls has anything to say about this one. It's harder to stay alive. Prepare to die, Axiz, because DFM are coming for your inhibitors.
They managed to push in after a hugely successful one-sided ace. The Axiz composition pulled apart and stretched to its limits. Unable to assassinate Udapon, the Commander Shockwave goes wide. On the Gwen, not able to finish off what Hoglet tries to start with this flank. Comes over looking for Udapon exclusively. The flash is close. The angle too wide, and it just gives Udapon time to walk away, flailing those arms, healing himself up. And even though Eno teleports in, it ain't gonna happen. And on the other side, Arya is managing the Axiz front line. And all Ebby has to do is tank the tower, be that presence, and the magic damage will arrive.
Yeah, Udapon putting the FocusMe and Detention FocusMe, and it just did not work. But the detonation certainly happened. Arya picks up Rapid Fire Cannon because, of course, now those gold cards are going to be even more devastating. The Dark Seal, now at 10 stacks, might be ready to pull out an LJL special, of course. The Death Note might not be so far away. Magi is definitely an option now for you to, for Arya. There we go. Hoglet over the wall here needs to be a bit afraid, but Gang will just hop over and say hello briefly. This rel as well, it's been very, very clean, and unfortunately it feels like every lane has gapped the others in this one. And Axiz looking down the barrel of a 0-2 start to Super Week, getting a bit scary. They were in second place, it was looking so good, and now 25 minutes into this second game, looking all but over. That gold lead, if there's ever a gold lead that's insurmountable, 14,300 at 25 minutes, surely is it.
You can see the summit of Fujisan just there at the end as Arya.
Like Everest at this point. Oh no. He puts the exhaust out. It's just not needed. He just gets to... Okay, he's done. Decent amount of damage back, but finally burns the cleanser switch summoners, but it's just not enough. Arya hasn't... Oh, wait. They're thinking about it. The Sonic Wave just misses. I appreciate Hoglet's attempt. He has been desperately trying to make plays all game. You saw the amount of pressure he put in mid lane. Dies of first blood there, though, unfortunately. He tries again around the dragon to try and get some things back. Gets a couple kills, but still not enough. The Great Escape in the jungle gets out, but that's all he does. His fancy feet earns him his life for 20 seconds. And that's been the problem. Hoglet's been making some wonderful, wonderful looking moves, but it is a drop of water. And right now, DFM are the goddamn ocean.
They are the ocean, the overpressuring wave of this top side that is designed to pick out your opponents, and then even if their friends arrive, explode them in small groups. We saw it with the top dive. We saw it executed to perfection. Members of DFM talking each other through it and being on the same page. It is the strongest thing you can have as you approach playoffs, is a coordinated team that look dangerous in the early, mid, and late game. And right now, DFM are that picture of danger. There is...
We were asked, Temporal,
yeah,
whether DFM was... whether they were just a Shaco LeBlanc game. I think at this point, we just show them this one. Still got to close it out.
This one.
But it's looking all but done. Like, again, we speak about this game being over because it kind of feels like it. DFM probably just got to lower Axiz down into the ground. It's already 2 foot wide. It might be 6 foot deep for Hoglet. And he's just gone. Steel gets it. Now Gang's hovering over the wall, looking to get onto Honey. And Nemo times out the Chains of Corruption with the crash down. They're going to flash into onto Nemo. They're going very, very deep. Honey trying to cleanse away Arya. Now coming under tower. Ebby goes very low. But thy days, the Lich Bane is obscene. That'll be the resurrection. But he's got a GA to work with. They're going to just try and end it. They finally get Arya. But it's at the cost of 4 men. But it's only a Braum. That's all that's left. They're teleporting mid to secure the wave. It's over, Temporal.
A little bit of min-maxing from Ebby to get the wave closer. It is so over. DFM, they used everything Arya had, and it was enough to bring Axiz to their knees. The tools ran out for Axiz here. They did not have enough ways to continue in this game. Initialize, it's been a pleasure to join the LJL for 1 week. I hope I'll see you again, and I hope this continues. I know DFM hopes this continues as their playoff dreams look alive.
It was
a lot to answer for.
Man, alive. It was not a fight, Temporal. It was a execution. DFM win that one, and it was something pretty special.
All right. Thank you.
Well,
and see you in the future.
You've got to get out of here. That does unfortunately mean that Temporal, time with us is done. We're going to cut to a quick break. I'll be back with Formal to break that one down, and we'll wish Temporal the best of luck with his next cast, because of course the man is a busy, busy person.
So hold our heads up high and beat the drums to what we love. Risk the follow, we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkest skies. The champions of the world that we defy. A soul ray of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last light.
Well, it was a game of League of Legends, I'd like to say. Perhaps not the closest game, but a game nonetheless. And if one of those questions we were asking beforehand is DFM back in form, that was as close to a resounding yes as you can get. Joining me right now is Initialize. Let's break that game down because I feel like there are a lot of DFM fans who are finally now starting to breathe those sighs of relief. Okay, we're back in business.
It won't stop killing everyone. Everyone is dead. Again, it's 14,000 gold. It's 20 minutes. Make them stop. That is probably what Axiz are feeling like after that game. That one is terror-inducing. They lost at every point in the game, in every lane. Even the outplays from Hoglet basically kept him alive rather than getting them any gold. Like, we asked before this split, this was kind of the DFM we were assuming was going to come. This was the Exodia we'd all heard about. The best players in the LJL together in one team, ready to absolutely crush people. This was against an Axiz that looked pretty damn scary before Super Week. And yeah, they had a bit of a rough one versus Sengoku. But this one looked on paper to be a bit more even in the draft. Both teams had some options to play out. Those games went on. It just didn't matter at all. DFM crushed everywhere.
Yeah, they did absolutely crush area. And perhaps some people could say, you know, the writing would have been on the wall after that performance against Sengoku Gaming when you sort of power yourself up against a tougher opponent, unable to rise to that level. And yeah, DFM strong from top to bottom. But in particular, I do kind of feel Steel in the jungle was a very key component in their successes.
He really was. It was very interesting early game because basically you watched both junglers path towards top side and then DFM draw down Ebby to come and take the Scuttle Crab. Arya having had his flash blown by a early gank from Hoglet in the mid lane, who would skip to camp, was at 16 CS, would skip to camp to go and make that play, then has to turn around and look to go into the river. But Ebby roams down, Arya comes up, and they secure the Scuttle Crab. At which point, Steel then gets to go and invade onto Hoglet's Krugs. He has to go down bot to get the crab. And what this sets up is a level in CS discrepancy that Hoglet is then trying to find other ways around. He's not an edge to farm. He puts his time into the mid lane. He's got that one ward which he used to try and gank earlier on, which is still there, which is making Arya's life absolutely frustrating. Cannot walk up to the wave forever and ever. 3 attempts he makes towards that mid lane, I believe. None of them work. All the while, Steel gets himself towards level 5, gets loads of CS, and that big play breaks out where they try to pick off Steel. He gets shockwaved, and then he flashes the Sonic Wave. At which point, Hoglet goes in, tries to follow it up. He takes tower shot, Arya switches to the Ignite, and they manage to get first blood over onto Steel. At which point, the map collapses, because Arya then uses his level 6 to go top, and turn around the play on the top side because Ebby manages to flash away using that summoner spell difference to get out from under Inno, and Steel goes in the mid lane to get a hold of Megamin as well. And suddenly, DFM are 3-0 up, loads of summoners being burned across the board, and just moments later, the bot lane gets a 2-for-1 as Gang finds a wonderful angle onto both Honey and Nemo. Game is literally doomed from that point because DFM, as you saw in the AI bot, was supposed to be behind in scaling at that point. Didn't happen!
No, they were never behind in that game. And as you point out, like just going through the list, all right, first jungle, DFM, then it was mid, DFM, then top DFM, then bot DFM. That's 4 for 4, 100% DFM from start to finish. And I'm going to bring things back to the Axiz side just for a little bit as well, because it wasn't as if they weren't trying to make those plays or they were fighting at it. They just found themselves behind. I mean, Hoglet had that amazing escape at one stage, and Hoglet to their credit, was doing a lot right on that Lee Sin pick, but there's only so much I feel that you can do when you're behind in every aspect of the map before the game really even gets going.
Like, there was just that hint of desperation, when you see, like, the Shockwave land, but Steel flashes the Sonic Wave, and still Hoglet goes for it, takes a turret shot and the Ignite and dies. And can't quite secure the kill onto Steel. And, like, you can sort of feel the frustration. It would likely still have been a 1-for-1 even if he got it, but you see the attempt and the aggression there, and you can't blame him because, you've already fallen behind the jungle matchup after the way that Skull Crab went, and that can really tilt things, especially for something like a Diana who's like, okay, you've got until level 6 before she becomes an absolute menace. And then she gets an assist, and then gets to move in to get the level 6 kill onto Megamin as well. Steel is 3-0 very, very early into that game, and that makes things very difficult. The Gwen goes to the all-in and top side, which Ebby flashes out of. The bot lane as well, Gang manages to find a massive just edge advantage by getting the double crash down into the attract repel onto both of them. And like all of these little things go wrong, and Hoglet is trying very hard to make things happen, right? Like in that play towards jungle, like he managed to escape, having been jumped on loads of ultimates burned on, and he managed to sort of use the Sonic Wave into the ward hop, into the flash to escape out of the jungle. And you think, that's great, what wonderful plays. But it doesn't really earn him anything. Nothing else happens on the rest of the map because of how far back they've been shoved. It only saves Hoglet his life. And then they still kind of lose the next dragon fight anyway, because Ebby gets to walk at him and force him to kick. And that was the problem. Like, all the heroics from Hoglet, even when, like, he jumps over the wall to flash kick Utapon, he kicks in the wrong angle, and it still doesn't pop the immortal shield bow which Utapon had. And on the other side, Steel gets to go in and moonfall 2 members, and Ebby turns up. So it's like, well, what do you do at this point? Like, every lane kind of went wrong from slight small discrepancies, but DFM's ability to take those small advantages and absolutely make them completely fatal was something to behold this game.
Yeah, it was domination from top to bottom. And I guess at this question, at least for Axiz, day 1 is super weak, done. I think they're going to be a bit relieved that this one is over. But the question I think does have to be asked, where does Axiz go from here? Because coming into this super week, they had all the momentum in the world. I mean, I did hint at the start, Honey could be a potential MVP candidate with the way this player has been going at it. But this is not when you want to slump. The start of Super Week is not the time you want to start slumping and losing games in this fashion. So obviously they need to regroup and look ahead into that future. I believe tomorrow they're going to be up against, if I'm not mistaken, Burning Core as well as Crest Gaming. But I don't know, where do you see this team goes from here? Because it looks to be in a tough spot.
It is a little bit, and this was always a fear for Axiz. It's happened before, I think, most notoriously probably the 2020 spring, where Axiz managed to start coming online a little bit, but then kind of get figured out a bit, unfortunately. And that might be what's happening here. It's a rough time to have this kind of stumbling block and realize, oh, maybe we're in a bit of trouble here. Like, the Orianna pick, is that really what you want in the current meta? The fact you had to ban the LeBlanc, the Lucian, the Aurelia yourselves, that's a bit scary. But on the other hand, like you can try and do so. You still got games tomorrow against potentially slightly easier opponents. The Sengoku game was like, well, maybe Sengoku kind of pulled a fast one with the draft we weren't expecting, with lethality, Sivir, and the double poke, and the Yumi making us a bit difficult. Where did that come from? And then on top of that, this game, it was just like, we always knew DFM was going to be scary. It was just more of a question of when, in my mind. Yes, we put out some questions like, oh, are they ever going to make it? It's like, well, it would have been a massive shock and an upset if they didn't, and this was always going to be a thing. So it's like, okay, if you put that in context, bit of an upset in draft and then a very tough game against DFM, well, 0-2 isn't the end of the world, but the question is, a lot of young players on this roster, can they reset for tomorrow? Because you're right, if this is a slump, this is the worst time all split to have it happen in the regular season.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of eyes, I think, on this team and their ability to bounce back going into tomorrow. But bringing things back to today, DFM, 1 game down. They've got a matchup against Burning Core right around the corner. And unfortunately, you're not going to be joining in the casting as, like Temporal, who we thank for providing commentary for those first 2 games, might be making your way out. So before we send you off to the Wild Blue yonder, any predictions or thoughts for DFM versus Burning Core?
If this is what they did versus Axiz, I think Burning Core better be getting the rain jackets, because I mentioned them being called the ocean. I think this is going to be Mark II. The typhoon's on its way.
Yeah, this could be a rough one. I mean, Burning Core about to potentially be lit up to go with their name. Very scary looking aside from DFM, but we'll get to that in just a few moments. We're going to be throwing it to a break. When we return, I believe it's going to be a certain Midnight as well as Middlecott, I believe, casting that one.
Nymera who's joining us.
No, it's Nymera. Sorry, yeah, it's Midnight and Nymera going
The
at
other
it.
half did.
Although Midnight versus Middlecott would be a lot of fun. I think that would be a very excitable duo.
Another time.
Another time, perhaps, absolutely. But yeah, Midnight and Nymera will be providing commentary. They will be with us just after a break. One last time, a big thank you to Initialize and Temporal. When we return, more of the unofficial, officially official, unofficial desk and LJL.